One moment, the shoreline looks almost calm. A few white caps, wet sand, families taking photos on the pier. Then, without warning, a wall of white water explodes over the seawalls, lambing into parked cars, flooding the road and knocking people off their feet. Videos from California, Oregon, and Washington show 16-foot waves roaring over coastal defenses, swallowing entire beaches and ripping through harbors. This is not a tsunami, but for anyone standing too close, the difference doesn't matter. The ocean does not care what name you give, the wave that takes your life. Right now, in December, the U.S. West Coast is facing some of the most dangerous surf conditions in years. Powerful winter storms deep in the Pacific are generating long-period swells monster, waves that travel thousands of miles before unloading all their energy against American shores. Weather agencies are warning of life-threatening surf, sneaker waves, and coastal flooding near high tide. Harbors are closing, highways are flooding, and officials are begging people to do the one thing humans seem least willing to do: step back from the edge. To understand what is happening along the West Coast, you have to start far away out in the open Pacific, where December storms are born. In winter, huge low-pressure systems form north of Hawaii and in the Gulf of Alaska. These storm centers can stretch over 1,000 miles across, with powerful winds circling around them. Where cold polar air clashes with warmer subtropical moisture, the atmosphere becomes an engine, and the jet stream acts as a conveyor belt, steering those storms eastward. Above the ocean, the winds howl, for hours, then days. They blow over the same open water, that distance the length of ocean over which the wind blows without obstruction is called the fetch. The stronger the wind, the longer it blows, and the larger the fetch, the bigger the waves it creates. These storms are not just stirring the surface, they are pumping energy into the sea. Local wind waves, the kind you see on a windy afternoon near shore, might arrive every 5 to 8 seconds, choppy and disorganized. Long-period swells are different. They are born far offshore, organized into powerful wave trains with periods of 15, 18, even 20 seconds between crests. You might look at a forecast that says 12 to 16-foot surf at 18 seconds and not realize what that actually means. Each of those waves is carrying massive energy, far more than a typical shorter wave of the same height. When these swells reach the continental shelf along the U.S. West Coast, the water begins to get shallower. As a wave enters shallow water, the bottom of the wave feels friction with the seafloor. The wave slows down, but the energy moving forward has nowhere to go except up. The result is shoaling. The wave grows taller and steeper just before it breaks. That's why beachgoers sometimes see a seemingly normal set of waves, then suddenly a much larger one, the set of the day, surging much farther up the sand than anything before it. Those surprise attacks are what people call sneaker waves. A sneaker wave does not need to be the tallest wave on the horizon. What makes it deadly is its timing, reach, and momentum. For several minutes, the beach might look safe. People lower their guard. They turn their backs to take a selfie with the ocean. Children play near the waterline. Then, a single long-period wave, charged with energy from thousands of miles of fetch, arrives. It races up the beach, well beyond where the previous waves stopped, sweeping over rocks, jetties, and tide pools. Anything in its path, driftwood, coolers, strollers, people, is suddenly in motion. In places like Sonoma County, Monterey Bay, Big Sur, the Oregon coast, and the rugged shores of Washington, officials know this pattern all too well. Every winter, rescue reports tell the same story. A family out walking on the sand, a photographer set up on a rock, a couple standing on a jetty, watching the sunset, then one surprise wave, and someone disappears into the surf. The water is icy cold. The currents are violent. The chances of surviving without immediate rescue are low. This December, the warnings up and down the West Coast are unusually urgent. Coastal flood advisories mention waves topping seawalls and flooding low-lying roads near high tide. Harbor masters report waves breaking over jetties and throwing spray onto docks and parking lots. Significant wave heights offshore have climbed well above normal values, with dominant wave periods stretching toward 20 seconds. These numbers are not just statistics on a marine forecast. They are clues about how far inland the ocean might reach on the next big set. Behind every warning is a network of instruments and experts watching the Pacific in real time. The National Data Buoy Center maintains dozens of buoys from Alaska to California. Each buoy is anchored offshore and equipped with motion sensors that measure how the ocean surface rises and falls underneath it. From this, computers calculate wave height and period, how tall each wave is, and how long it takes for one crest to follow another. These buoys detect long-period swells long before they reach shore, giving forecasters critical early information. Satellites, passing high above the planet, add another layer of insight. Mapping the surface of the ocean, tracking storm systems, and observing changes in sea state across vast areas. Coastal radar systems near major ports monitor wave approach in near real time. All of this data streams into regional forecast offices, where meteorologists at the National Weather Service analyze it alongside computer models that simulate how storms and swells will evolve over the coming days. When thresholds are met, wave heights above certain levels, long periods, high winds, and a match with local tide cycles, forecasters issue coastal flood advisories, high surf warnings, and statements about sneaker wave risks. These alerts specify which stretches of coastline are most at risk, when the danger window will peak, and what types of impacts are expected. Beach erosion, flooded roads, hazardous harbor conditions, and life-threatening surf for anyone near the water. Yet, time after time, the biggest challenge is not the accuracy of the forecasts, but human behavior. Many people see the ocean as background, romantic, beautiful, powerful, but distant. A red flag on a beach or a message on a website doesn't always change that perception. If the sky is not black and the water is not obviously violent, it's easy to think it can't be that bad. But monster waves do not arrive like in the movies, with a giant wall visible on the horizon for minutes. They come in sets. There are quieter moments in between. The danger is precisely in those moments when things look normal. Harbors are not safe havens during these events either. When long-period swells roll into bays and inlets, they can amplify inside confined spaces. Mooring lines snap, docks buck and heave, unsecured boats break free and slam into others. Small craft advisories are not suggestions. They are warnings that a vessel that might handle normal chop could capsize or break apart under these conditions. Just outside the harbor mouth, it's also important to separate storms and monster waves from a different fear: tsunamis. When dramatic videos of waves topping seawalls go viral, the word tsunami spreads quickly online. But tsunamis and storm-driven waves are not the same thing. Tsunamis are triggered by undersea earthquakes, landslides, or volcanic eruptions. They send a series of long, low waves across the ocean that can cross entire basins in hours, often without looking large, until they reach shallow water, where they rise dramatically and flood land. By contrast, the waves slamming the U.S. West Coast now are generated by weather, by wind and pressure differences in the atmosphere. They are connected to storm systems in the North Pacific. National tsunami centers monitor seismic networks and deep ocean pressure sensors specifically for signs of tsunamis. When there is no significant earthquake or undersea landslide, and those instruments show no anomalous wavefront, officials are clear: there is no tsunami in effect. The distinction matters because people need to know what they are facing. But from the perspective of someone standing too close to the shoreline, when a 20-second period, 16-foot wave breaks over a jetty, the label is irrelevant. Both can be deadly. Both require respect. Climate change, adds a troubling backdrop to this story. As global temperatures rise, oceans are warming and expanding, and average sea levels are inching higher along coasts. While the relationship between climate change and the frequency or strength of individual winter storms is complex. A higher baseline sea level means that the same storm surge and wave events can reach farther inland than they did decades ago. Coastal erosion accelerates. Defenses built for past conditions are overtopped more easily. The margin for error shrinks for people living, working, or vacationing along the West Coast. The next few winters are likely to bring more of these higher-risk surf episodes. That means learning a new kind of respect for the ocean, one based not on fear alone, but on understanding. Understanding that long-period swells can run far up the beach in a single surge. Understanding that sneaker waves often arrive after a quiet lull. Understanding that high tide plus heavy surf is when roads, parking lots, and even low-lying neighborhoods can go underwater. Understanding that when the National Weather Service uses phrases like life-threatening surf and stay off rocks and jetties, it is not being dramatic. It is translating cold numbers into human terms. So what can you actually do? If you live inland, but visit the coast, check coastal hazard forecasts before you go. They are publicly available and easy to read. If warnings mention sneaker waves, stay well back from the waterline, keep off logs and rocks, and never turn your back to the ocean. If you live in a coastal town, know which roads flood during high surf events, and avoid them when advisories are in effect. If you're a photographer, surfer, or someone who loves being near the edge, force yourself to recognize that the edge is where people die. The ocean will always be stronger than you. The goal is not to beat it, but to avoid giving it an easy opportunity. This winter, monster waves and storm-fueled swells are reminding the U.S. West Coast how thin the line is between scenic and lethal. The storms out in the Pacific will keep churning. The energy they send toward shore will keep coming. The only part of this story that can change today, right now, is how seriously people take the warnings. The beach will still be there on a calmer day. You don't have to stand on the rocks during the worst surf of the year to prove anything. The videos you take will not be worth the risk if you misjudge the ocean by just one wave. As extreme weather grows more intense and our coasts become more crowded, the dangers from monster waves will grow with them. The ocean won't wait for us to catch up. Our awareness and preparation have to move first. Use this quiet moment to get ready, so you're not learning during the worst seconds of your life. Like, comment, and subscribe to BayNTube now. Turn on the notification bell, and stay ahead of the next quake, wave, or eruption. Every video here turns fear into knowledge, and knowledge into survival.